That night, it was about 10:30. I was driving home. I lived a good bit from the school, so I was on a farm to market road. There was a van in my 2 lanes that I had that was being hauled by a truck, and neither of them had headlights on. And really, there was nothing around me besides one single house. And they ended up hitting me. I saw them very last second, tried to cut my wheel, but I still hit them head on, and they actually fled the scene, and they had left me there pretty much thinking they had killed me. Hi, my name's Kendall Daniel. I play softball here at Tarleton State, and I am a pitcher/hitter. So I started playing softball when I was about 3. My sister's team didn't have enough players, and so that's how I got started. High school ball was actually very interesting for me. I actually didn't pitch nearly as much. In high school ball, I was actually a shortstop. We were very successful in high school. We won state a couple of times. You know, winning state is a big deal in Texas. I received Offensive Player of the Year in my districts. I also was an all-state infielder. I was originally committed to Houston, and late on in my senior year, I decided that I wanted to study animal science and that Houston was not going to be the place for me, but they offered to give me a chance here, and with the ag program they had, it was really hard not to say yes. So I actually had committed a few days prior, but I hadn't made it public until that morning of my accident. That night, it was about 10:30, and I was driving home. I lived a good bit from the school, so I was on a farm to market road, and it's the same way I drive every single day. Nothing really any different, it's the exact same way. And I had turned onto the road, gone down it a little bit past Dayton, and there was a van in my 2 lanes that I had that was being hauled by a truck, and neither of them had headlights on. Really, there was nothing around me besides one single house. And they ended up hitting me. I saw them very last second, tried to cut my wheel, but I still hit them head on, and they actually fled the scene, and they had left me there pretty much thinking they had killed me. And I was lucky enough that there was a guy coming the opposite direction that had seen the truck on the side of the road with no headlights on, and almost actually hit him, and he pulled out his phone to take a picture because he thought something was going on, and that's when he heard the crash. And once he heard the accident occur, he immediately ran over to me, trying to figure out if I was even still alive. I was still wearing my softball pants, actually, so he saw my Liberty softball pants, and so he knew I was a softball player. And so he actually ended up texting a friend that was on the softball team that he had. I personally didn't know him at the time, but he had a friend on the team. They figured out who I was. I was actually on my hands-free call with a friend at the time, and they called my parents for me when they FaceTimed back because the call disconnected and they thought something was wrong. And the call, they FaceTimed, and I don't exactly remember, but I was apparently able to answer the FaceTime, and they could see that my leg was broken over my shoulder, and that there was blood everywhere, and that my airbags were off, and I was like pinned down. And so my parents came immediately. They had to shut down the road because the accident covered the whole entire road, and somebody tried to cut my parents off when they were trying to get around to like make it to me, because they were telling them to expect a DOA, like she's not going to be here much longer, like there's a good chance that if she makes it out of this, like she will have either an amputation of some sort, but you need to get here now. And so my parents drove off-roading in a ditch trying to get to me, and they were there. Life Flight came. They finally cut the roof off my car, and they were able to pull me out of the car. And once they had cut the roof off and got me out, they had to straighten my leg out before I could ever go anywhere. And I mean, granted, all these people were expecting a DOA because it's unlikely for people to survive injuries to the extent I had. And I went to the hospital. They wouldn't let my parents come with me, so my parents sped down there got escorted to the hospital. And I just remember kind of sitting, like laying there with a neck brace on, seeing some screws in my leg, with like a pulley system, trying to keep my leg as straight as possible, bandaged, cuts all over my face, cuts on the back of my arms. And I looked at my parents, and I was like, my parents were crying over me. And I just like asked what was going on. I didn't like remember anything. Granted, I was in Houston, so definitely some of the best medicine practitioners that you can possibly ask for. And they went into surgery and they found somebody to do my leg, but they wouldn't find somebody to do my arm. Nobody wanted to do it. And it came to find out that the reason that nobody wanted to do my arm was because my artery was actually trapped inside my bone, and that one nick and I would have bled out. And so I started making phone calls, thinking that that was it for me, that everybody really did think I was genuinely gonna die. And I started believing too, because I was just in shock. And I just like wanted my family, I wanted my parents. And after that, once I made it out of the first surgery and I came out and I saw that my arm was actually like put back together and my leg was too, I knew I was in the right direction. And I spent about a week in the hospital, but I didn't miss a softball game. I made it back to the high school softball game, even my wheelchair and all. My mom and my dad were huge, like absolutely huge. My mom basically gave up work to take care of me, like full-blown take care of me. Nobody gave them enough credit by any means during the whole entire thing. My parents were instrumental in my recovery. I love softball, clearly. I wouldn't still be doing it if I didn't absolutely love the game.
This one's going to be chopped weakly out in front of the home plate. And coming on is Daniel. She'll fire to first. And some 22 months after a nearly life-altering accident, Kendall Daniel has thrown a no-hitter in the Tarleton softball complex.
So at first I didn't even realize I threw a no-hitter. So I really had one goal in mind when I went out on the field, and it was just to absolutely attack the zone as much as I could and to not let anybody else score. You don't see a lot of freshmen out there. Like, you see a lot of the same people repetitively being either the pitcher of the week or the player of the week. And to be able to get that honor is huge, especially so early on. It just means a lot. Like, it was definitely a nice surprise. It was great to like have my dad there too, because at first he wasn't supposed to be there, but he just moved some stuff around, made it possible to be there. And I just, honestly, it felt great that I know this early on that like I can have such a great impact for our team and to help push those wins across and get to what our goals are.